Welcome back, fellow YouTubers, to my channel. This is Yusuf. I don't know why I like to just do this every time. I just noticed every time I start a video, I like to go like this. I think it adds to the dramatic effect. Anyways, don't mind me. Welcome back, fellow YouTubers, to Crafting Clouds. This is Yusuf from Crafting Clouds CRM Solutions, and today is part 3 of our How to Build a Custom Map in Method CRM YouTube series, where today I'm going to show you how you can add an editable grid to your record in Method CRM. Now, I've been using the example of a social media influencer as my business, and I'm building an app for my social media influencing business, and I called this app the Potential Deals app. So we're gonna pick up right where we left off from part 2, and we're gonna go into how to add an editable grid so that I can track the potential services that I'm gonna be offering to my potential client if the deal ends up closing. So let's begin. So far, we have header information on our potential deal, and you'll notice we have just general information around the deal. So the name of the deal, the contact at the company we're dealing with, which is Lululemon, the source of the deal. So they reached out to us asking about TikTok services that we can potentially offer. So brand initiated TikTok, the type of business, which is new business, the stage we're in, which is negotiation, and a brief description. The amount is set to 0. We're not going to manually change that. We're actually going to have an automation in this video that will automatically update that for us. So now what we want to do is we want to add the services that we're potentially going to be offering Lululemon in this example as separate items associated to this record, this potential deal record. So let's begin. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate my tab just because I want to have a tab to refer back to quickly on the front end. And I'm going to click the down chevron arrow here, go to the second option, customize screen, and enter the screen designer. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a section. Now you'll notice the section is right at the bottom. I'm going to move this up by clicking the down chevron arrow next to the section title. I'm going to click section and click move up and do the same thing again. Now it's in the place that I want it to be, which is right underneath the header. I'm going to rename my section to section potential services. Okay. Now I'm going to go to this plus icon here and I'm going to add an editable grid element within that section. Boom. Now we're going to recaption the editable grid to potential services. All right, and then we're going to click this grid builder button to enter the grid builder. Now in here, we're going to go into the column section. Oh, actually, before we do that, we want to change the base table. So you'll notice the base table right now is set to opportunity. We don't want that. We want to set this to opportunity line. Now, why did I do that? The opportunity line is an out-of-the-box table that Method offers to allow you to add items associated to your opportunity, which is the table that we've built our custom app on. So we don't have to go and create a table from scratch here. We're saving time by not going ahead and rebuilding and repeating something that's already built for us. We're actually going to go ahead and we're just going to leverage an out-of-the-box table called opportunity line. And this is going to allow us to add items associated to the opportunity that we're on, which in this case is the potential deal. Now I'm going to go to the column screen tab, and I want to add columns to my grid that I would like to see. Now in this order, what I'm going to do is I want to see the item, so the service I'm going to offer. I want to see the description. I want to see the quantity. I want to see the rate. I want to see the amount and the opportunity record ID. Okay. Now, what's important to me though is I also want to specify the opportunity record ID, because I can go ahead and I can add these items to the potential deal screen. But what's going to happen is if I hit save and I go back into my potential deal, those items will be gone. Why is that? Because Method, you did not tell Method what opportunity you want to associate those items to. You have to tell Method. How do you do that? You have to go to the opportunity record ID column that you've added, and you want to specify the record ID. And the record ID that we're going to specify is the record that we're on, which is called the screen active record ID. And you'll notice it's under the session subtitle. That's because this is known as a session value. This is going to grab the value of the record ID you're looking at within the session that you're working in. So the screen active record ID is something that is everywhere in the Method platform. You're always going to be able to have access to it when you're in the screen designer. And you can even pull it when you're in the action editor and you want to build logic. You can refer back to the screen active record ID. It is super, super helpful. So let's put that there. So that's important because now that's told us that we're only associating items to the screen or the potential deal that we're on. Okay, now we're going to go to the item, very first column, and let's look at our columns. So right now we have item full name, all right, which is great. And let's go ahead and let's add description. Now, the reason why I'm adding description here as well as we have a description column is because as a business, I've seen this many times. They have very, very similar items. Sometimes their items are SKUs or like 6-digit codes. So they're not going to know sometimes what that SKU really is. So when they're opening up that item dropdown, they want to see a brief description so that they can differentiate and identify which item they need to choose. So now we're going to continue on to our description. Because this is a text field, we don't really need to add anything. Same with quantity. Actually, quantity, let's default, okay, to number. Let's default our quantity to 1. Reason why is because oftentimes as a social media influencer, I'm going to be offering one of each service by default. So 1 video, 1 photo, maybe 1 Instagram reel, whatever the case may be. So I want to default it to 1. The rate, we're actually going to come back to. And the amount, let's set the amount to read only. Okay. So let's go data format and say this column is a read only column and can't be edited. The reason why we want the amount to be read only is because we're going to have the amount for that particular item automatically calculated when we change either the quantity or the rate of the item. Okay. So let's go ahead here. Let's go back to item, and you'll notice there's this actions area underneath the column for item. We want to click this change option here. This is going to take us to the action editor for the grid, which is very cool. We're going to be able to, through here, tell it what automations we want Method to do when we set a particular item within our grid. So let's go ahead and let's add a condition here, because we only want this logic to fire off if there's an item. So we're going to say we're item, excuse me, potential services item. So this, you'll notice it says potential services dash item. The prefix here is just identifying the name of the grid, the editable grid that we're in. We can have multiple grids on the screen and they can all have different names. This is the way that we're going to be able to easily refer to a particular column within a grid and say, I want to grab the value that's in this column or refer to the value that's in this column within that particular grid. So let's choose this. And we're going to say where the item is not empty. Okay. I'm going to add here a note. If item is not empty, we're going to go ahead and we're going to retrieve item information. So we're going to go to the item table. And the reason why we're going to item table is because we want to grab now that item's ID, and we want to go to that item in the items table and grab all the information from the items table so we can have it so that we can have it and we can use it to populate the grid. So let's go ahead and let's go where the item. So right now, because we chose item as our table, it's asking us where we want to add a particular, it's basically asking us which item. So we're going to say the item for the column that we're in, which is, we're going to say the record ID. I think this is right. This might actually be the name. It might not be the record ID, but let's see. Potential services item. There we go. All right. So now it's going to say, we want to grab the record ID of the item in the item table where it's equal to the item column within our potential services editable grid. All right. Now that we've done that, let's go ahead and we can now retrieve any field we want for that particular item or any value we want for that particular item in the items table. Let's go ahead and let's choose, we want rate. Oh, no, not rate, sales price. We want sales description. Let's just get the full name in case. Okay. Let's just grab all this information. Now I'm going to store these in variables called action results. And we're going to say, I always like to start with a result as a prefix. It just identifies that this is a variable. And I'll say result, sales price. I'll say item, sales price. Okay. A result, item, sales description, result, item, full name. And we're going to call this grab item details. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to update controls on screen. We're going to choose this option. The reason why is because we want to take those values now and we want to populate them automatically. When we choose our item within the item dropdown, it should automatically populate the rate column, the description column, and then automatically have the amount calculated for us. Okay, so we're going to go here and we're going to type in potential services and we're going to have it automatically populate the item, potential rate, quantity. Actually, we don't need the item because we're already populating the item when we choose the item within the dropdown. Rate, quantity, and actually not quantity, rate and description. Okay. The quantity is already 1. It's going to default to 1, and we want to leave it like that. So for the rate, we're going to say sales price. So we're taking our variable now that we've stored under action results right there. And for description, we're going to choose our result item sales description. Populate item details within grid. All right. Now let's test this out. Okay. I'm going to hit close here. I'm going to go back into my other tab here. Just hit refresh. Just saves a little bit of time. And here we are. So now if I choose TikTok dedicated, I'll choose TikTok integrated. There we are. It automatically pulled the quantity, the rate, and the description. I can choose Instagram Reel, and you'll notice the rate and the description changed to correspond with the item Instagram Reel. Great. But you'll notice the amount still was static at $4. We don't want that. We want to actually change that. So let's go back into our screen designer. Okay. And let's automatically go into our grid builder. And let's go in here into our item. Let's go back into our change action editor. And let's go ahead and let's add a way for us to take that rate times the quantity and have it automatically populate the amount for us. So we're going to say math function. All right, that's what we're going to use. We're going to choose multiply because we want to multiply the rate with the quantity. So we're going to say multiply quantity, so potential services quantity, which is the grid value, by the rate, which is the sales price. And then we want to get the results item amount. Now we're storing that into our own variable, and I'm going to call this get result item amount. Now let's go ahead. I'm actually going to move this here. I don't want to create another update controls on screen. I only want to update the controls on screen once. This is just to keep the code lean and efficient, and it's going to save yourself a lot of trouble in the future. So let's go ahead. Let's add now potential services. Let's say amount, and let's say result item amount. Boom. Let's go ahead and retest this. Oh, I already had this tab open from before. That's fine. So let's go back here. Let's choose TikTok integrated. And there you go. The amount automatically calculates. Okay. Now, what if we want to change the quantity? Okay. So if I wanted to change this quantity and I put 2 here, I want that to automatically reflect in the amount. Okay. So let's go back. Let's hit customize screen. All right. Actually, let me close this and keep this open. Let's go back here and let's go into our quantity column now. And let's go back in, let's go into the action editor for our quantity column now. All right. And then we're going to add a condition. And the condition we're going to add, that was strange. That was a little buggy. That's fine. What we're going to do here is we're only going to make sure that this logic fires off as long as the quantity is greater than 0, because I can go into the quantity column and I can just put 0 in there and I can expect something to happen. But in this case, I don't want anything to happen when I put 0. I want nothing to happen when 0 happens. So when we put 0 in, instead, I want it to happen when we put a quantity greater than 0. So in that case, I'm going to put quantity greater than 0. So I'm going to say if quantity greater than 0, right? We want to do another math function and we want to multiply the quantity that we just changed by the rate. And the rate, I'm actually going to grab the rate that we had specified in our grid. I don't want to grab the rate from the item anymore, because I could also manually change the rate within the grid, and I don't want it to only pick the rate from the item. I want it to pick the rate that I've edited within the grid. So that's why I'm referencing the grid here. Now I'm going to say result item amount. We'll do get result item amount. And then we're going to update control on screen. And we're going to do result item amount. So we're updating the column, the amount column within our editable grid with that variable result item amount. I'm going to say update amount. All right, let's test this out. Let's go back in here. So let me go and choose now TikTok integrated. There we go. Let me change my quantity. Look at that. My amount changed. Let me change my rate to 500. Wait, did I do rate here? No, I didn't. So let's do that next. So if I want to change my rate, I also want it to automatically update the amount. Let's go in here. Let's go into the grid. Let's go back into columns. Let's go to rate and let's enter the action editor. And here we're going to say conditional. Same thing like we did for quantity. We only want to calculate it. Actually, no. Maybe you do want to calculate when the rate is 0. Maybe you're giving a free item. So I'm actually not going to do anything there. I'm just going to say math function. And we're now going to multiply the rate that we've entered in our grid by the quantity we've entered in our grid. All right. And we're going to create result item amount. So we're going to say get result. So we stored it into our result item amount variable. All right. And now we're updating controls on screen, and we're going to update that amount column within the grid. Potential services amount. We're going to update it with the item amount, and we're just going to leave a comment here. Update item amount. That's it. All right. So mostly everything is done. Let's go ahead and let's just close this one more time. And let's go back. Oh, I still had this here. Let's close this. All right. So if I go into TikTok integrated and I choose 880, let me change the rate to 500. Yeah, as I thought. That's why sometimes it's not good keeping multiple tabs open, guys. And this is something that I also need to improve on myself. I'm not perfect. No one is. But you'll see here, automatically did not take my change. And And I think it's because I had already the old logic on the other tab, and I closed that, and it's overwrit my new logic. So let's see what happens here now. If I go ahead and I put this to 500, no, that did not work. Now, if I change this to 2, so the quantity works, the rate didn't. Let's go in and let's see what's going on with our rates. Yeah, see, yeah. You know what, guys? Don't listen to me with these multiple tab things. Let's keep it simple. Let's just do one tab. It makes everyone's life a lot easier. Because look, I just removed my logic that we just put in. So I'm just going to put my head down here, and I'm going to actually rebuild this logic quickly for us. All right. So I think we're good now. Let's go ahead and let's choose TikTok dedicated. There we go. And let me change the rate to 700. There we go. And let me change the quantity. You'll see it automatically reflected the amount of 700. If I change the quantity to 2, boom. It's working, baby. It's working. Okay. So a couple other things I want to do before we close off this video is I actually want to hide a couple things. I want to hide the record ID because we don't need to see that. And I now want to hide the opportunity record ID because I do see that it's working. So I actually want to hide that. We don't need to see that every time, nor should we be able to edit it. It should always stay the same. So let's hide those 2 columns. So let's go back, customize our screen. Let's go back to our grid builder. Let's go into our columns here, and let's hide record ID. So let's go into our view. Let's say, so I'm going to our views section here, and this view section is where you're going to be able to hide your views as well as do some filtering, which is something that we need to do as well. So let's click this visible columns option, and beside record ID, let's hit this eye icon to disable it and hide it, and same with opportunity record ID. But we're not done yet. We only want to show line items associated to this potential deal. So remember how I said we had the opportunity record ID, and we told method only associate items to this potential deal or opportunity when we enter in these items. So that's good. We're telling it to associate the item to the potential deal. But when we go back into the potential deal, and imagine we have multiple potential deals, which we will, you're going to see all of the items on the grid on each one of those potential deals. Those items are going to match exactly, which is not correct. We don't want to see all potential items across, or potential services across all of our deals on every single deal that we open. We only want to see the items for that deal that we're looking at. So what we want to do is we want to go back to our grid builder, go to our views section here, go to the selection criteria, and also say we only want to see items for this opportunity. Okay, so we're going to say where opportunity record ID is equal to, and this is where we're going to use that session variable, screen active record ID. That's it. Now we're only going to see items pertaining to the potential deal that we're looking at, and we're not going to see all items across all of the deals. Let's hit close. Let's hit close. And let's go ahead and add some items here. So let me choose TikTok dedicated. Let's choose TikTok integrated. And let's choose Instagram Reel. You'll notice it pulled all the items that I've stored and what's coming in from QuickBooks automatically for us within the grid. And let's go ahead and just click save. And now if I go back into my potential deals list and reopen this list, there you have it. All the items and services that you're potentially going to be offering Lululemon is now associated to this potential deal. Thanks for watching, everyone. Peace. That's it for today's video on how to build a custom map in Method CRM Part 3. And I hope that you understand how to add an editable grid on your own. If not, feel free to add a question down below. I'd be more than happy to help you. As well, add some negative or positive feedback down below. I really would appreciate any comments that you might have about my videos, if they're helping you, if they're not. I really want to drive as much value to you, the viewer, as much as possible, my family, my Crafting Clouds family. And I plan to continue these every single week with new videos around Method CRM as well as other CRMs in the future. So please stay tuned. And next week, we're gonna actually continue now with an automation and grab all those line items that we've added to our potential deal, and we're gonna shoot out an overall amount in that amount field that you saw in the header. So stay tuned for that next week.